Welcome to the bold analysis. All of a sudden, there are sudden calls from a section of UDA allies around Kenya Kwanza that are warning President Ruto that it is about time that he gets rid of Uhuru system. And I don't know what that should be understood, how that should be understood, but it's coming in the wake of Matian'gi's arrest and the behind-the-scene efforts that made sure that released Matian'gi from the sharks of DCI. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bold analysis. I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our video. For those who are supporting us from different parts of the world, I want to say asanteni sana. We do this every day because of your support. There is something I will not get tired of saying, and I will repeat that we know that in government, or rather in governance, there is continuity. We are in 2023, and the KK regime is not the first regime we've had. We had regimes, the 24-year Moi Terror era. We've had the first regime, Kenyatta 1. We've had 10 of Mwai Kibaki and 10 of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So, nothing new. Each one of them created their niche, or rather created their legacy by not blaming the other person. There are some disturbing reports that should disturb William Ruto. That yesterday, immediately from the moment Matian'gi was escorted to DCI HQ and he was ushered in the boardroom, he was in constant talks with two gentlemen, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And he kept on briefing them on what was going on. We'll take and make call and talk to them. And there is a report about a behind-the-scene move by former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. The question here is, did he plan to storm, did Uhuru Kenyatta plan to go to DCI HQ with Raila Odinga? Because the reports are that himself, he made calls and intervened personally behind the scene, calling for Matian'gi to be released. This is after he was held there for more than 6 hours, and the lawyers were neither aware of whether it was an arrest, he was to be put under arrest, or rather to be charged, or he was to be released. So by midday, the lawyers were seeking for way forward on whether they were at liberty to live with Matian'gi or Matian'gi was under arrest. And Uhuru Kenyatta himself intervened, saying that he would be willing even to go to release Matian'gi personally. And the behind the scene intrigues are that when Raila Odinga went, Raila Odinga was stopped. It was banned from getting there. And it's that moment that even Uhuru Kenyatta was rattled. And would actually look at it this way, that perhaps Matian'gi was under some arrest. There is something that you need to figure out here. Immediately, Uhuru Kenyatta went to Nigeria. It is around that moment that also Matian'gi left and Matian'gi was out of the country. So when Uhuru came back, Matian'gi also came back. So it's really, there is a consistent understanding that maybe Uhuru Kenyatta has been trying to support him behind the scene. During Magoha event is when Matian'gi's trouble started. And by that time, Uhuru ordered some of the lawyers to seek anticipatory bail against members of his cabinet from the pending arrests. And I have been insisting that I know that political pundits and analysts have projected, or rather have been saying, that Uhuru is a hardware that was utilized. And it's because of Maybe, you don't see him in public, he's not talking and he's kept his silence. But we could be making a wrong, assumption. Maybe Uhuru is a hardware that has been utilized, but he went home with the software. He could have gone home with the software. And, the challenge that President Ruto is having is that even from the moment they took over government, they have been trying to project some of this, maybe the anti-corruption war and the fights. From day one, Rigathi Gachagua showed a personal vendetta against Uhuru Kenyatta. So, and I'm talking about this in the context of the latest stories about corruption scandals that had dogged the government during Uhuru Kenyatta reign. President Ruto could have a very legitimate call and a very legitimate cause to fight corruption and even go after those who think of this country. But the big challenge here is, from the word go, you already showed your intentions, and they looked like personal vendetta. We started on the wrong footage. So as to whether we are going to get ourselves off from it, it is something that we really have to relook and see whether that is the direction we can take. And let me say this. President William Ruto should make his legacy from the said plan, if that plan is still there. If that plan is still there, make your legacy from the said plan. Your legacy will not be built, and it will not get the glamour to pick if it's pegged on personal vendetta. I don't know. It will not. It doesn't go that way. Uhuru Kenyatta had a very good run of government for 10 years, but I can tell you, towards the end of his tenure, the arbitrary arrests of some leaders that were implicated in some corruption cases, some of which were legitimate, were legal, and were done in good note, dogged his reign. And by the time he was leaving office, he was sold in Mount Kenya as a persona non grata. So learn it from Uhuru Kenyatta himself. This is going to set you off around it. And that's why there are 4 reasons why I believe that President Ruto must make his own legacy. This is it. We are in a different economic regime, even at the global stage. It's high time we appreciate that fact, that really we are in a different economic regime. And global economies even global economies are struggling. We must get new indicators of development. Long gone are those days that you will tell the people about the cost, about your legacy as kilometers of roads that have been constructed. When Uhuru Kenyatta was finishing, one of the things he was really appreciated for was the 10-kilometer roads that he built, which doubled and was more than what both Mwai Kibaki and Moi combined did. There was a different economic regime for Mwai Kibaki, different one with Moi, and different one with Uhuru Kenyatta. And William Ruto must also know that even this one is different from the previous ones. We are in some bit of some problem, because look at the Kenyan priority now. I don't think the priority, everyone is talking about the cost of living. And we are in a regime where we have had a problem that the price of the grain, we cannot produce our own. Locally here, we have problems with our rain, so even our farming cannot still give us the results. We want to go and buy in the international market, believing that perhaps we can get good rates. We are not getting good rates. So you need to be realistic. The global financial institutions, the global lenders, are also suffocating the African countries with what I can call punitive measures or demands on how we use our money. The IMF of today and the regulations they're giving are ones that, according to me, cannot serve the interests of the population. And that's why I believe that whether President Ruto would want to create a legacy, the comparison of doing what Uhuru did wrong and what to do it right, or what Uhuru did, I want to outdo Uhuru Kenyatta, that's not to be it. The indicators of your legacy in the next 5 or so years will not necessarily be the same as the same indicators that we gave Uhuru Kenyatta. When Kibaki left, we talked about the superhighway. And we talked about how companies thrived, including the bodaboda industry. It thrived during Moi Kibaki. Look at the way shilling was during Uhuru Kenyatta time, during Moi Kibaki time. Now here, our shilling is on a free fall. And that's what I'm saying. And you know, the fall of our shilling is not solely our problem. It's a problem that also borders the other areas. I want you to listen to Chomba. Chomba he was giving some information about the petroleum aspect. He was saying that the traders, those who are supposed to import oil, are having problem of getting the forex, the dollar. So the problems we are facing now are different from the problems Uhuru Kenyatta faced. And remember, by the last days of Uhuru Kenyatta, they started. I remember when Uhuru was crying out in public saying that mimi sikuleta vita huko Ukraine. We need to appreciate that. And that is the ground that will help us also communicate to the public. Telling the public, confronting what Raila Odinga is saying there, that to me, you might confront and give all the beautiful statements and promises on how you're going to give fertilizer, how, I don't know, you're going to help farmers here and that. President Ruto, those are not going to help us. We have a different problem. And let's nurse it. It's even a global problem. We need to appreciate that. And when you appreciate that, you'll realize that the new indicators, let me tell you, take it to bank. Your legacy, a legacy will not be that you paid our debts. Because hiyo pesa haujalipa hapa mtu. Hiyo pesa umelipa mzungu. So the population, Wanjiku will not bother at how many billions. Because even when you were borrowing it, it was not there. You know, I've been seeing leaders shouting on top of their voices about how we are going to pay billions, we are paying this debt. This debt story, paying this debt story is for the middle class, for the ones that understand. His story, wananchi wa chini hawaelewi. That's it. So I've really delved on that point. This is it. The political will around Uhuru Kenyatta have a potential of grounding the state. Let's agree. The other day, Arun Cheriot was saying that Uhuru Kenyatta, that there are two sectors you cannot just crush easily, the banking and the media. Some of these people also, Uhuru Kenyatta had a stake in media. You know, we had, for the 10 years that we've been there, we've been talking about the milk sector. We've been talking about different sectors. Now see us talking about the gas. You know, you need to agree that there are some things that they are also holders of the economy. Today, as we speak, Fuliza is down. No, apart from it being a business, it's also a service to the population. There are some products that are business to people, but they are directly also a service to the population. Think about it tomorrow. If Safaricom falls, communication goes down, is it about the fall of the company? No, it's about the fall. Leaders, population missing services. So some of these things we need to be very keen. Otherwise, the more we go after Uhuru Kenyatta, the more we take that ground, the will behind Uhuru Kenyatta can crush us. Look at it. You are returning Uhuru contest. If there is a contest that was done in 2022, is Uhuru Ruto contest. That contest is done, but we seem to be going after that contest, which I'm even wondering for what. We don't need an Uhuru Ruto contest in 2027, because that contest is not going to give us good results. No. Giving your opponents, and someone should tell the president that you're giving your opponents reasons to regroup, consolidate, and single you, single Ruto factor as their identical goal. You're creating your enemies a reason to regroup, for them to find a specific problem where someone says my business, someone says, oh, I'm being targeted. They are being targeted people. These people will consolidate against you the same way they consolidated against Uhuru Kenyatta and coalesced around your candidature. Who knows? If what befell you will befell the other people. So for me, I believe that the Matian'gi aspect exposes some loose gaps as far as our handling of situation is concerned. President Ruto, build your legacy away from Uhuru Kenyatta. Just create it. If you want to fight corruption, it's fine. There are people that are corrupt. Start with these ones here. And if you just wanted to build your legacy, you cannot drop all the billion cases and then you start shouting this, that. You need to be very strategic on this.